All right. Hi, Aidan. Thank you so much for joining me on this call today. My name is Colin. I am a 2023 alumni and a content creator for the All American High School Film Festival, and I'm super excited that you're going to be joining me here today.
Hi, Colin. I'm Aidan. The film I'm going to be talking about today is Kinesthesia.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So, my first question is I just want to get to know a little bit about you. So, tell me a bit about where you're from, what high school you went to, and then most importantly, how you got into filmmaking.
All right, good questions. I'm from LA. I'm a senior in high school at Windward, which has a great film program, which is really one of the reasons why I've sort of gotten into film the way I've gotten into film recently.
Awesome.
But also going further back, I would like make iMovie trailers with my sister as far back as I can remember. So that's sort of where the origin is. And then the program at my school really inspired me to pursue it the way I'm pursuing it now.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. I was actually working at Providence High School in LA this summer, so they have some really cool film
Awesome.
programs down there. So yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm ready to hear about all about your film. So for our first exercise, what I want to do is I'm going to start a 60-second timer, and I want you to give an elevator pitch for kinesthesia.
All
So
right.
just go for like log line, just a little bit about the genre and such. So yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, here we go. Kinesthesia is about a curious premature angel whose name is Anastasia, who experiences the five senses for the first time. And really, that is the core of the story and the core of the idea, and everything else is just supporting that concept. Is the original first experience of the five senses. What would that be like? What would that feel like? What would that sound like? What would that look like? And so essentially, our story takes Anastasia through a garden, experiencing all of the five senses for the first time: sound, sight, smell, taste, and touch. And then she sort of has to make a decision. She's confronted with the complexities of human emotion and pain. And that is something that sort of scares her a little bit. So she has to make a choice. She has to make the difficult choice of either becoming an angel and returning to ignorance, because angels aren't allowed to experience the full range of human emotion. They have to block themselves off to pain, or to break free in an attempt to experience all there is as a human.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that is really, really cool. I really want to see this now. It's super interesting. So, is this like what kind of film is this? I'm like, whoa, that's super creative. Is this like an experimental? Like what's the kind of vibe that you guys are going for?
It kind of falls into a couple of categories. It does have some experimental elements,
Mhm.
especially in some of the editing towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, but especially for the opening 5 minutes, it really is like a fantasy narrative kind of thing. Although also, like there's a whole sequence at the beginning where it's just her experiencing sound for the first time, and so that also definitely feels a bit experimental, because the way that I do that, there is imagery, but the imagery is blurry, and it's mainly about the light that we see, and the images are not fully clear, so it's really not like a distinct plot at the beginning. It's just that experience of sound, and we sort of hear bits and pieces of dialogue. And then really the narrative story begins at sight when she wakes up in the garden.
Mhm.
So it has kind of elements of both.
That's really, really cool. So, what inspired you to make a film like this? Like what sort of inspirations are you drawing from?
Good question. I've always been kind of interested in fantasy, dystopian, those kinds of genres, and I feel like people, when they're making films, tend to like stray away from those ideas because they're, I don't know. First of all, they're kind of hard to make. Like, you have to figure out how to portray the things you want to portray in a fantasy setting, which can be really difficult. And that took a lot of the time and effort into making this film. What it was thinking about those things, especially for production design. So that's just kind of the genre I like to write and make. So that's one of my things that I was sort of inspired by. But also in terms of like actual inspirations, there's some Poor Things inspiration in the sort of like curiosity of the character. So some of that character from Poor Things is where I'm drawing some of the ideas for who this character is. And also, I was just kind of curious about, like, I don't know, the experience of film is the experience of the senses. And
Yeah.
so I kind of, it's not like a thing where I was like, I want to make a film about what it's like to watch a film, but kind of focused on the idea of like, as an audience member, what am I experiencing, and really being very intentional with those things also influence the story, of course.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, really cool. I've never heard this is like a super original idea. Like I'm really excited to check it out. So I guess, do you have any like cool stories from being on set or through like the whole, pre to post production process?
Yeah, I probably do have some good stories. One thing is that the music came first, which is, I don't know how common that is. I scored the film,
Really? I love
but
that.
interestingly, I didn't really have the full fleshed idea before I started writing the music. So the
Mm,
theme came before I had a final script. It
wow.
came before of course, before we went on set, before we shot anything, before we got any of the props. So really, that's like the music is the original character of the story, and I don't want
Wow.
to say that everything else was based on the music, but everything else kind of existed in the world of the music. Um, yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. No, the first film that I submitted to All American actually came. I get a lot of my inspiration from music as well, and so I had all these like scene ideas based on like certain songs that I was listening to, and I was like, that came way before the story. So I love that we kind of share that
yeah,
similar
that's awesome.
process. That's really cool. So I guess I'll go a little further with that. Like, what does music in film mean to you? Like, what do you think is the importance of music in this film?
I think music can easily make or break a film, and a lot of the time, it is just kind of fine. Um, I really think that it is one of the key elements of the story. It influences how we experience the story in the most important ways. And for this film in particular, I was very careful to try to like not overdo it with the music, but the thematic elements were like a big important piece. It was a character in itself. And so because of that, it was as much of as a part of the process as anything else. Um, and yeah, it was just like just as important as the acting, just as important as the story, if not more important, because if the music fails, then really it makes the whole thing not as good of an experience.
I totally agree. That's super cool. All right. Well, Aiden, I have one final question for you. So, for those watching who are hoping to attend the festival, why should people go see your film specifically in theaters?
I would say go see Kinesthesia if you want to see something crazy. Um, the ending is going to leave you hopefully intrigued and a little confused, but not too confused. I really tried to get that balance. So if you want to feel like that, if you want to think about the film afterwards, go see Kinesthesia. You will have a lot of questions. Come find me. I'm happy to answer them or continue
Awesome.
the conversation.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Aiden. And for those watching, you can go see Kinesthesia on Saturday. It's screening number 23 in Theater 24 at the AMC Empire Theaters in Times Square. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it.